So, it is Hallows Eve, or at least it will be by the time I upload this, and yeah, tomorrow's Halloween, which is pretty crazy. This month went by way too fast. It went by way too fast, but I did get to see a lot of really cool horror movies, Halloween type movies, so yeah, man, overall, I thought it was a pretty great month. And believe it or not, this is actually going to be the last movie review on my channel this month. I will be uploading on something for Halloween, but I will get to that later. But for now, I'm going to be reviewing my very last horror film for this month, and that is Eyes Without a Face. Eyes Without a Face is directed by Georges Franju. I hope I pronounced that right, otherwise I just sound like a fucking idiot. No, yeah, it's a French horror film, and yeah. The film follows a surgeon whose daughter actually got in a very, very bad accident, causing her face to become incredibly disfigured. So he kind of puts on this mask on his daughter, in order for her to not, be spooky all the time. No, the movie follows her dad, which is the surgeon, and his assistant. They basically go out and try to find her a new face. And by doing that, what they do is they basically lure young women into their home, and they surgically remove their face, and then they try to put it onto his daughter's face, so she could have a new beautiful face. And yeah, that's Eyes Without a Face. It is pretty fucked up, and yeah, I really love this movie. Holy crap. Yeah, I love this movie. It honestly, just thinking about it, it might be one of my favorite horror films ever, I would say. This movie is great. Loved it. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. But no, Eyes Without a Face is a really great film, and yeah, this movie is very, very frightening. Just very creepy. I would say it's more so unsettling. Unsettling is the perfect word to describe this movie. It is unsettling. The strange thing about this movie is I wouldn't actually necessarily call it a flat-out horror film. In fact, I don't think, I read that the director didn't intend for it to be a flat-out horror film, but instead he just wanted it to be a film about, a tale of anguish, I think it says. And, yeah, so, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call this a flat-out horror film, but it's definitely very creepy and unsettling and just, my god. There is a scene in this movie, it's the surgery scene, you know the scene I'm talking about if you've seen this, that I'm a hardcore horror fan, I watch a lot of horror films, and that movie freaked me out. That movie stuck with me, it stuck with me. That was one of the few times where I actually had to be like, okay, I cannot watch this right now. Like, I actually felt a little bit queasy, I'm maybe over-exaggerating it a little bit. But yes, that scene definitely got to me. And the thing about this movie, too, is that it was released in 1960. This movie was released in 1960. I still can't get over that. Like, this movie is way ahead of its time. Like, I cannot believe the censors passed this movie and released it to the public, like saying, okay, that's fine. Yet films like Psycho and Peeping Tom, which were released in the same exact year as this movie, were, critically panned because people thought they were so, just so terrifying and grotesque, and they just thought it was not a film to be shown for the public. So I just find it very surprising that Psycho and Peeping Tom got all this shit, while this movie, which is far more violent and far more gruesome than any of these movies, and far more unsettling, I should also say, and yet you barely hear anybody talking about this movie, which I think is absolutely crazy. Like, I can only imagine watching this movie in theaters in 1960, the same year when Psycho and Peeping Tom came out. I would have been traumatized, especially seeing that, there weren't a whole lot of, gruesome and unsettling films like this one at the time. Like, this would have been a very traumatizing experience back in the day. iMDb trivia time! It says, originally released in the US in an edited version titled The Horror Chamber of Dr. Faustus. Faustus, I guess. An odd title considering that there's no one named Dr. Faustus in the film. I agree, that is very odd. And, why they decided to name this movie that, I have no idea, but apparently this movie, was just recently re-released into the US. Not just recently, I think it was about 2003, I think it said, and it was actually released under, the original title this time, so now it's called Eyes Without a Face, which is a million times better title. And what's crazy is how I hear nobody talking about this movie. Like, I hear nobody talking about this movie, and to be quite honest with you, I think this movie goes up there with Psycho and The Shining, and just among the greatest horror films ever, in my personal opinion. This movie is up there with those films to me, and I can't believe I don't see as much people talking about this movie, than Psycho and The Shining, because this movie came out around that time, as those other movies. So it's like, why isn't anybody talking about this movie? Maybe it's because, you know, it was released in France and it's a foreign film, and The Shining and Psycho are American films made in Hollywood, so it's like, I don't know. I don't know why this movie wasn't as commercially successful as Psycho or The Shining, but I don't understand, you know. Of course, you know, now a lot more people are talking about it because it was just recently re-released, you know, in the US as The Eyes Without a Face, and now people are starting to learn more about it, and people are starting to talk about it, and there's actually a Criterion release for this film, which I do not have yet, but I'm definitely going to pick up the Criterion after watching this movie, definitely. Yeah, this movie is a must-have for me. But yes, this movie's just very unsettling, it just gives off a very creepy, eerie vibe, and yeah, it's just, you know what it is? It's her face. I mean, her lack of a face, I guess, is a better word. It's like when she has the mask on, it just gives you this very uncanny look, and it almost reminds me of a creepypasta. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but it's called The Expressionlist, I think it is. Her face actually reminds me a lot like The Expressionlist, and if you guys don't know what The Expressionlist is, then just look it up for yourself. I refuse to look at that picture even to this day because it still gives me nightmares. But yeah, the point is, you know, just, you know, when the girl has the mask on, it gives you this very uncanny vibe. Like, it's just, the lack of a face is just really what makes it all the more terrifying. And to me, this movie is just much more than a horror film, you know, just as the director intended. It's more so just a film, you know, a tale of anguish. Like, it's actually kind of almost heartbreaking in a way, like you feel empathy for this character, and it's really just an emotional, heartbreaking tale, if anything. But, you know, what makes it a horror movie is, you know, the gruesome imagery and, you know, the fact that she looks so creepy. But yeah, guys, Eyes Without a Face, it blew me away. Blew me away. Just like The Phantom Carriage, this has to be, like, you know, one of my favorite films I've seen this month. Oh god, Eyes Without a Face, I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I think this really is up there with, you know, among the greatest horror films ever. Like, you know, as Psycho, The Exorcist, Shining, you know, all those movies. This movie's up there for me. If I ever made a top 10 best horror films of all time list, this would definitely be in it. Yeah, like, I can't express enough how much I really love this movie. It really surprised me. But yeah, so overall, guys, I'm probably going to give Eyes Without a Face. I'm pretty sure this is a no-brainer, but I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Yep, that is my second 5 out of 5 this month. The Phantom Carriage and Eyes Without a Face, guys. These two movies really surprised me. These are definitely the two best films I've seen this month. In fact, both movies I could actually maybe even call two of my new favorite films. So yeah, just go ahead and watch these movies, guys. They are really great. But yeah, guys, watch Eyes Without a Face. You will not regret it, I promise you. Pick up the Criterion if you can. I know the Criterion sale is coming soon this November, so if you guys don't have this movie in your collection yet, I would highly encourage you guys pick this one up, because this is a very, very great movie. And yeah, that's it. That's all I gotta say for Eyes Without a Face. Definitely one of the better horror films I've seen. And yeah, that is also it for my Halloween reviews. Oh no! But don't you cry, my child, because I have more shit coming to you. That's right. But Jacob, it's Hallows Eve. How could you have it? Just shut up. I have more stuff coming to you. Although this is my last movie review of the month, I am going to be releasing a very special video for you guys tomorrow. And this is something that I have never done before, not in this format at least, and I am very excited to release this video to you guys. And hopefully I'll have it out by tomorrow, I hope. You know, there's still a lot of stuff I gotta do, but yeah, I'm super excited for you guys to see it, so definitely stay tuned for the video I have coming out for you guys tomorrow, which is Halloween. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next year, until next Halloween, I will see you guys later.